it's all there. Okay, so the basics, remember who you want to help, how can you help them, how can you reach the people you want to help. That's basically what you're doing, building trust along the way, showing people the benefits, and getting them to make that offer, getting someone to pay for it. If it's not them, then somebody else. Yeah, that's what you need to do to be sustainable in this, or else it's the best sort of hobby that society like. Yeah, so you really want to be dedicated to something. It's just good to do it, quite a lot. You're going to do it quite a lot if you're getting paid, basically. So that's the basis of marketing, and if it was just that, I could have just sent you an email with that. I could have just given you a basic marketing book, slightly reframed it for our kind of more alternative subculture of yoga, and that you think would be enough. But what I've found is it's definitely not for me or for students and people I work with, because we have barriers, we have blocks, we have stuff that gets in the way. Yeah, I heard it from a few of you at lunch, what some of them that you said to me were. I'm sure we'll hear some more now. The ones I've heard so far are super common, super normal. So we have what we could call an inner game. The reason I call it game is it makes it a bit lighter, a bit more fun. There's no like deep, hardcore therapy. It's just looking at it like, in a sort of playful type way. So for the next exercise, if you're willing to sit up because you'll feel different things easier. So just sitting in a relaxed upright position. Kind of did this earlier, and I saw the responses at lunch. So if I say the following words, and if you could just say them back in your first language. I know some of you it's not English, so say it back in your first language. Money. So say the word back.
Money.
Okay, notice what happens in your body. Like, are you still breathing fully? Did you lose your balance? Did you collapse? Did you go into a sort of fight-flight response? I definitely saw this at lunch. I said the next one, marketing.
Marketing.
Okay, did it come out as clearly as you would say, I love you to your child? So when I see my wife, I'm like, I love you, you look gorgeous. I'm not like, I love you. Because there's nothing like holding me back in that. It's like full heart expression, yeah? So if marketing or money doesn't have that like full heart expression, then you've got some shit going on. And the good news is that's pretty normal. The bad news is it can really get in your way. So some of this we could look at like psychologically, like I did a call the other day, like what's the narrative you were told about money? So for example, on a subtle, implicit way, I was educated by my liberal Guardian reading left-wing family to believe that good people aren't rich and rich people aren't good. That was the kind of story I was told. Well, you shouldn't make money from suffering, as we heard earlier, yeah? And it's like, actually, you might need to reframe that as actually it's a really good way to earn a living to help alleviate suffering. Well, what better way to earn a living could there be? So some of this is like a psychological shift in how we're framing what marketing is. I've already given you this perspective as marketing is relationship, marketing is romance, marketing is love, marketing is getting things to meet people's needs. These were all ways of me offering you other frames and other perspectives on this stuff. And most people have some stuff around money. Money is a form of power. Yeah, there's a tantra to money, like there's a tantra to sex. It tends to bring up grasping, spacing out, and aversion. So Buddhism 101, I know I'm more trained in the Buddhist tradition, but I know in Hindu tradition they have names for these things as well. These tend to come up around money. And sometimes it's like I'll see in alternative communities of absolute denial of money. What that leads to is a kind of shadow. So you get your friend who's a hippie who seems really like, I'm not into money, but actually that's all you think about, or he totally rips you off. Yeah? So it creates this shadow by denying money. The other thing it does is it gives money to people without ethics, if the people with ethics are denying that money is an important part of life. So I look at money like sex. I think, okay, it's something, it can be a nice part of life, something to be enjoyed. Don't make it too big, don't make it too small. It's just part of the world we live in. And remember, there's that bigger picture of like, well, actually, there might be some really fucked up things with the world in terms of fairness and how money is in the world, and really acknowledging that, we are benefiting from years of imperialism right now, and blah, blah, blah. That's all really worth acknowledging. And right now, in my business, in my life that I live, would I be more helpful to people if I was completely broke and starving? Probably not, yeah? So there's this sort of psychological side. Because you're yoga people, we can actually work in an even more interesting way, an even more powerful and direct way, with embodiment. So who has heard this word before? Okay, so the word embodiment just means the body's more than a brain taxi, that the body's a key part of who we are. So as yoga teachers, I imagine you realise that when you're working with this, you're not just working with meat, you're working with someone's psychology, emotions, sociology, politics even, the holistic, integral self is what we're working with in yoga. Yeah. So when someone does a forward bend, what do you think this might be about, other than just stretching the hamstrings? Have a guess.
Letting go.
Letting go, exactly. So this person's never trained with me, as far as I know, right? And that is exactly the posture we use for letting go. So it's pretty common sense. If I wanted to help someone like let go, this would be a good posture to use. So if like someone was like really tight and attached to something, and actually the cancer they had made that not possible anymore, that's a great posture to work with. So that's an example of using embodied yoga, first of all, to help people, but it also reveals patterns. Because when I do this posture, I tend to sort of not let my head go. Why do you think that is, Jude?
Maybe control?
Because I'm a total control freak, okay? So like this is a really good posture for me to practice. And I notice that every time I do it, I'm like, oh, warrior posture on the other hand. When I do warrior posture, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is home base. You know, I'm like, this is what I was born for. And that the first time I did it, I was like, yes, finally, a good posture, you know? So that's not a coincidence. And those of you who've just met me, you're like, well, that makes sense, right? You're laughing because you already know me well enough to know that I'm not lying, right? So this is what we're doing in embodied yoga. Now, around marketing and around money, what do you think are some of the key things that might come up for people? Key things that we can work with through embodiment? Okay, let me put it another way.
Sense of worth.
Okay, so sense of worth, absolutely. So we do something called self-care posture. We're going to do that in a minute. That's a great place to start. If you're not caring for yourself, if you don't have that sense of like when I asked you earlier when I said, why should someone marry you? It's like a fun exercise, right? But actually, if you're immediately like, well, I'm funny and I'm smart and I'm brave and I'm a great shag, yeah? Then it's like, do you have that immediate confidence and that sense of like, this is what I bring to the party? Does that make sense? Yeah? So in terms of like your business offer, it's the same thing. It's like, here's the benefit it brings, but it's also that I'm worth something. Yeah? Now, you've got to be a bit careful with that frame around money, because you might start thinking, well, I'm worth this much money, and they're not worth that much money. That doesn't generally help in the kind of economy we're in. You just end up resentful if you're not earning what you feel like you should be earning. So it's like letting go of the shoulds, not thinking you should be worth something or shouldn't be worth something, but having that sense of like deep confidence and self-care. Yeah? What about taking up space? So being seen is very difficult. Who has a problem with being seen? Please timidly raise one finger in the air. Okay, a few of you. So if you have a problem with taking up space and being seen, it's going to be very difficult for you to put yourself out there. Makes sense? So like if you're like, and if on the other hand like me, you quite like being seen, social media might be really easy. Like, yeah, it is me today, this is what I'm doing on Instagram. Like, why not? For someone else, it might be like, oh God, no, I could never do that. Yeah, so that's another thing you might want to practice, is taking up space and being seen. Around money, there's 3 basic embodied capacities that we see that we're going to explore in a minute. Giving, which is like, what's your offer? And that might not be money, that might be the thing you're presenting. So really being able to give fully from the heart. I hope I'm doing that today, presenting to people. Yeah. Another one is receiving. Can you actually receive? So you might be like, oh, I can't take money for this. I heard that, sort of someone said that before. Yeah, the other one is containment and organising. So I'm quite good at giving and receiving. I tend to be less good at this one. I'm like, yeah, I made a bunch of money, and I gave something really of value, and oh shit, where's the money gone? Yeah. So other people are like this. It's mine, my money. Yeah. I'm more like, ooh. Okay. So this is another thing we can notice and play with and build some of those capacities. Yeah. Talked about warrior posture already, confidence. Talked about letting go, being able to let go of some of our fears, some of our resentment, some of our maybe old views about, I can't make money from helping people or whatever. Yeah. Any other capacities? Jude, I think they're the main ones.
Yeah.
I think they're the biggies.
Pretty much.
Enough to play with for the next 45 minutes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is do a bit of embodied yoga and play with some of these. So please stand up.